Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
From Japan. Are we too, is it too dark? Should we turn it up a little bit? I want it to look kind of creepy, but I don't want it to be like,
oh shit,
fuzzy. Or maybe put the, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? It's Halloween here in Japan. I think it might still be the 30th for lots of you, but it's Halloween day here officially. And today we're going to be reading through tons of ghost stories that I received from you guys. I asked you to send in any like spooky experiences you've had in real life, not made up stories. And I got so many entries. So thank you so much for sending those in. And hello to my mod squad. Thank you so much for stopping by and helping us mod the chat. You guys are awesome. 4 a.m. Oh dear. Yes. Thank you to those of you that have stayed up really late to watch this stream. We've really been looking forward to it. I love ghost stories and I had such a blast reading through all the stories you guys sent in. I think we got over 200 entries. Yeah. And there's some really chilling stuff in there. Last night I was up really late reading through them all and I was creeping myself out alone in the dark. So thank you for that. Mark hasn't read the stories yet.
Yeah.
So this will be his first time hearing them as well. And then let's talk about them in the chat, see if you guys think they were real, see if you've had any similar experiences, etc. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, let's get started. So I went through and starred my favorites because we had so many entries. Unfortunately, I won't be able to read them all. But if you guys enjoy this, we could always do another episode. And it doesn't have to be Halloween. Right. It's all right. All right. So starting off with the first spooky story. This is from Adam in Florida. Thank you for sharing your experience. About 12 years ago, when I was 12, my paternal grandpa died and we were at his wake. My brother and I were starting to get bored as we were going on hour 4 of the wake, and we decided to wander the small building a bit. We decided to stop by the water fountains to grab a drink. Above the water fountains was a mirror that reflected back into another room used for wakes that was currently unoccupied. I bent down to get a drink, and as I was standing back up, I saw my grandpa, clear as day, looking at me from the unoccupied room. I froze for a second, but realized I must have been seeing things. Until my older brother asked me if I just saw my grandpa as well. It seems like a sweet thing, but at the time I was terrified of ghosts and spent the rest of my time in the main room next to my parents. So, like, seeing something, yeah, you might imagine that you just imagined it and it wasn't really there, but that if your brother or somebody that was with you was like, did you just see grandpa? Holy crap. I think I would have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually seen anything that you thought was a ghost?
When I lived in New York City with my brother, we rented for a while, and before we moved into like our actual house, there was this. We were on the second floor of this one apartment, and our mom would always come home late because she's a nurse. So she would come home at like 1 o'clock, and so we'd always like kind of like wait for her to get home. So we'd be at the living room playing video games while we're waiting. And so like one night we're just like at the living room, and how it's set up, it's like living room, dining room, and then like up a small set of stairs to like the bedrooms. And so like we're just like playing, and it was around midnight, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this like white figure like going from my room to our mom's room. And so like, you know, obviously I like turn.
Yeah.
And I'm getting like chills.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And the thing is like, you know, like, oh yeah, like you just imagined it. But like my brother turned at the same time.
Shit.
We were just both playing, and then we went go boop. We were like, what the fuck was that?
So he saw it too.
So, yeah, we both saw it at the same time.
Was it walking?
Yeah, it kind of like floated. Floating? Like it's kind of like hovered, I guess. Or like one room to the next.
So scary.
And like the common one, I guess, is the white woman. Yeah, it looked like a woman. Yeah, like a glowing kind of. It's kind of just like this white figure of a woman, just kind of like going from one room to the next.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Did you see anything else after that, or was it only that one time?
Oh no, yeah, we saw it intermittently.
Oh really?
Like, yeah, it was kind of like,
Holy shit.
Hey, how you
Whoa.
doing? Yeah, so
after reading through all of your stories, I noticed that there's some like really like patterns. Lots of you guys see the same things, which is really weird. I found that really strange. You might notice as we read through them, but lots of you saw like the same shaped shadow wearing similar hats and stuff. I don't know why that would be, but yeah, Adam, that I can see why that would terrify you. But it is kind of sweet if you think about it. So I hope you look back on that as a cool memory. Thank you for sharing your story. All right. Which one should we go with next? There's so many to choose from.
So many stars.
So many. Oh, okay. So this one is from Gary. He's a professional musician and he tours with numerous bands around the world. Anyways, he was on tour and playing 2 nights in Belfast in the Culloden Hotel. I must first explain that I was not aware this hotel was supposedly haunted before I stayed there. I've checked into a million hotels over the years and thought nothing different when I checked into this one. I was staying at the top corner room of the old part of the hotel. That night, I decided to take it easy and ended up watching a few films in my room and decided to turn the light off around midnight. I was alone. As I was dozing off, I heard a voice whisper in my ear. It was close. So close, I pulled away and immediately switched on my bedside light. The voice was very clear. It was a deep male voice and spoke in a foreign language. If that wasn't disturbing enough, it sounded threatening. Whatever it was, it didn't want me there. I turned all the lights on and didn't sleep much after that. The next day, I went down to reception and explained what happened. I thought they might laugh at me, but instead they gave me a wry smile and said, "Oh yes, we've had comments about that room before." I was shocked. What on earth? I felt a bit angry that they had allowed guests to stay there. I immediately Googled the hotel, and a few similar experiences were documented. I must say, I've never experienced any paranormal activity before, and I'm always skeptical about this kind of thing, but I will always be fearful of this moment in my life and swear that this story is true. I stayed there a few years later, and I had some more tour dates in Belfast, and I insisted that I have a room in the new part of the hotel. Again, the porter knew exactly why I was asking this. This time I had a peaceful night's sleep. Yikes. Nope. The only time I've stayed in an old hotel was actually one I think it's in Iwate.
Yeah.
And it's known for having ghosts, but I slept so well through the night that I wasn't awake. I was planning on maybe waking up at like 3 a.m. and wandering around the hotel to see if I could see anything. But I think that's the only time I've stayed at an old hotel. There's so many good stories from like creepy old hotels. Oh, that would be so weird to like look online and see that people have had similar experiences. That would really like solidify it for you, I think. Yeah. Why am I watching? I'm so scared. Okay. What is phasmophobia? Interested to go into spooky games sometimes. What's that? I've heard about that. A few people suggested that.
Yeah, it's what do you call it? It's like a first person like exploration game.
Oh, okay.
So you're a ghost hunter and you have to walk around like this haunted area. Like
it's a PC game?
Yeah, it's a PC game.
Is there any way we could stream it?
Possibly.
I'm not sure. I don't know how the setup.
I have a what do you call it? I have the gear to be able to stream. You just
on your computer?
Yeah, like it's a separate device, and so I have the device to be able
That'd be fun.
Record it. I don't have the PC.
Oh yeah, Mark's computer broke. We went out yesterday trying to get some parts, but yeah. Unfortunately, it's out of service at the moment. Okay. The next one. Oh, what's this one? Oh, this one's really long. I might save this one. That was a good story, though.
That's long.
It is. It's 2 different stories. I'm going to read the first one. Okay. So this is from Christy. Thank you, Christy. At the grocery store I worked at for several years, we had a resident ghost spirit. He was a prankster and liked to pat people on the head while they waited in line, push the number button, which was behind the service counter. So our counter number kept going up, and push people's carts in random directions. He even went too far one time and set an electrical fire in our cold case. Here's the thing, I could hear/see him. One time when he was messing around with the number button, I realized he was watching me, and each time I passed him, he would press the button. I finally stopped and yelled at him, saying, "Oh, would you just stop it already?" He kind of wilted and mumbled, "That old man can't have any fun." Customers looked at me funny, and I had to be quick on my feet, saying that I was yelling at the button itself because I was frustrated at it malfunctioning. Lo and behold, one of my coworkers, who actually became a good friend, saw the entire exchange and we started talking. We decided to test a few things. We checked the floor with levels, pencils, and tennis balls when a cart would randomly move to make sure that the floor was level. It was. We checked the vent to see if there was a strong air current. The vent didn't work. We compared notes on what we saw from the ghost, keeping track of times, dates, and events. After a while, we each said how the ghost had given us his name. So I told him I was going to go to lunch, but leave the building, so we weren't influencing the other in any way. And while I was gone, we were both going to write down the name we heard and then trade papers when we got back. We did it, traded papers, and we practically danced. It was the same name, or rather, the same 2 names. The spirit had told us both his name was Charlie, but went by Chuck. Again, that's so creepy when somebody else like confirms it.
That's wild, yeah.
For you. That's very cool. Oh man. It sounds like a fun ghost though.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I wish I had a story like that where somebody else like experienced the same thing.
I mean, like, do you have like many personal like ghost experiences?
Not really. I've never like seen a ghost. Just more like psychic stuff. And like, yeah, but I've never seen anything. It was more when I was younger though.
When I was in university, my first one anyway.
Yeah.
I was in California, and one of my roommates is from, I always get this wrong, Gilroy, which is like the garlic capital of America. Like you when you drive into the town, it's just like this wall of garlic bread smell. So like it's also like one of like the most haunted like cities, towns in America. And so like in high school, she like with her friends went to this abandoned house that like at the 3rd floor would have this light. And so they went to go check it out, and she was scared, so she stayed in the car, but her friends went in. And so like they're looking around the flashlights or whatever. Yeah. They're not seeing anything. Yeah. But all of a sudden they're hearing like footsteps like running towards them, but they're not seeing anything. So they're like, fuck this. They bolt. And so like, you know, where they're pulling out and like the car like jerks. And like it's like something dragging behind the car, and like
pulling the car.
like pulling the car, like just like dragging it down. What? And like you just hear like the dragging sound on the gravel. What? And so like it's just kind of like this like really sluggish movement from this car, right? And so fast forward to when we went to visit her hometown, we got into her mom's like at the time brand new like Celica, like this turbo Celica. Yeah. And so she was like, "Oh, I'll take you to that house that like I told you about." I was like, "Yeah, let's go." Yeah. And so we just kind of like drive past the house and then make a K-turn and then go back out towards the highway. But as we pass the house the second time, like the car jerks and like it's just like in the back, like we just hear it. It's something dragging along the gravel.
So like something's like attached to the car and like dragging. What? So the same thing.
Yeah, and so like, you know, we're like fuck, and so we go into the highway and still like something's still dragging.
What?
And the car's still sluggish, and so we pull into this like gas station, and we're
hi,
like,
Cynthia.
"Oh, hi, Cynthia. Thank you." And so we both get out of the car and. Like we're not seeing anything behind us, right? There's like nothing there. Nothing was stuck. But like on the spoiler of her car were like these 2 like handprints.
What? What the
It was like
hell?
boom, like right there, and we were like,
Oh
okay,
my
we're
God.
done. We're going home.
What the hell?
That was wild.
There was one story that was sent in about an experience in a car, kind of similar to that one. That's creepy, man. You've got lots of good stories. Oh, okay.
Bob.
Bob. Oh yeah, somebody commented on the pumpkin. Thank you. I just carved it the other day.
Nice.
Okay, there are lots of Ouija board stories. When Kelly and I mentioned using a Ouija board in our video the other day, lots of people warned me against it and said, like, no, stay away from that. Yeah. They're evil. I used to use one all the time when I was little.
Really?
Yeah, I never had any bad problems with it. We just kind of had fun playing around with it. Okay, so this is from Patrick in Charlotte. Thank you, Patrick. So me and my 3 friends decided to take a getaway to the mountains of North Carolina for the Halloween weekend. Saturday, Halloween night with temperatures in the mid-30s. I'm assuming that's Fahrenheit.
Thank you, Art.
Oh, thank you, Art. Okay, the white pumpkin, the bloody white pumpkin is here. I tried to carve it and I couldn't get a knife through it. It's a rock. There's like, I tried to cut off the bottom because it's a weird pointy shape and it wasn't sitting properly. I could only get this deep. I couldn't get any further. I don't know what's wrong with this pumpkin. So it will remain uncarved. All right, back to the story. So it was 30 degrees. I'm assuming Fahrenheit. Very cold, I think. Thank you, Kay. Kokriti-san. Not today. Not today, but I am intrigued. Ever. The fireplace was roaring, which warmed the room. Thunderstorms and lightning, and the nearest neighbor was 10 miles away. If you went outside, you needed a flashlight. This sounds like the perfect setting for a Halloween night. If you guessed it, the power went out. Of course it did. So one friend suggested we play Ouija board, which he just happened to bring with him. So why not play this? It isn't real, right? Wrong. Keep in mind, we were in a cabin, and the owners had 2 hanging pictures of Jesus on the wall. We have no power, and we're just playing by the light of the fireplace. We start trying to contact the spirits of the Cherokee Indians who are known to the area. A few minutes in, chills came across my body, and the Ouija thingy starts to move. I know my buddy Steve was moving it, which he denies to this day. And then one of the Jesus pictures literally flies off the wall and cuts the top of my foot with a 3-inch gash, and there was blood everywhere. Me and another friend rushed to urgent care and arrived 40 minutes later. I required 6 stitches. The board was burned in the fireplace. It wasn't until a couple years later we found out the cabin was built on top of Indian burial grounds. Holy crap. That's scary. Yeah, it's like the board, it didn't even like tell them anything. They didn't even have a chance to get a message from anyone. Just Jesus flies off the wall.
It's like, fuck you.
Cuts his foot open. That's scary because like what could possibly explain that? That's terrifying. All right. Lacey. Oh, this one. Okay. So apparently she had lots of paranormal experiences growing up, but this is one of the freakiest. My mom had remarried to my now stepdad, so they decided we were moving. We had moved to an eerie old house built in the 1940s. It sat on a hill in the middle of nowhere. The neighbors were at least 28 miles or more away. I was 14 at the time. It had started on a rather cold night. It was early January. I left my room from upstairs and headed down when I had heard the phone ring. So I picked it up. It was my mother telling me to watch the kids, my younger siblings who were 8 at the time.
Asinine, thank you.
Thank you. Spooky Native American stuff. Oh, I think I got your story. I think I started. Yes, that was a good one. So she picked up the phone. It was her mother telling her to watch the kids, her younger siblings, who were 8 at the time. They're twins, so double the trouble, I had thought. I wish I didn't pick up the phone. I told her I was annoyed, but just like that, I was the babysitter for tonight. I called my brother and sister's name so I could ask them what they wanted for dinner. And as I did, I looked at the big clock on the wall and it read 6 p.m. It was already time for dinner. I yelled again when they came running down the stairs. They had made up their minds for spaghetti. So I started putting the bowls out and setting up the table. My brother was playing with his cars, as he always does before dinner, and my sister was coloring. I turned back around to the chopping board and began cooking. I turned around again and they were gone. I figured they were playing hide and seek. I wasn't in the mood and began shouting for them to come eat. I got no response, so I had to give in and look for them. I looked under the stairs, in the broom closet. Hell, I even looked under their beds. They were nowhere to be found. So I made my way back up to the kitchen and picked up the home phone. I dialed my mom's number and she picked up right away. Mom, I began, but she was already talking about how long my stepdad takes in the store and how the kids were running around. I paused, but I didn't question her. Who was I talking to then? Whatever was pretending to be my little siblings and mom I had spoken to all evening. I couldn't comprehend it. I was speaking to spirits this whole time. I heard the keys jingle as my family made their way inside, the real ones this time. I didn't sleep well that night. I'm 21 and I still haven't told my mom about that one night in January.
Oh, fuck that.
What the heck? That's so creepy. So she just had like a full-on experience with her brother and sister, but they weren't actually in the house.
Wow.
What would be an explanation for that? Like, why would spirits show up in the form of her family? That's really strange. That's such a big experience, like shrooms. That's such a big experience that, like, how could you imagine that? Like, that was a whole evening.
Yeah.
That she had that had happened to her. Holy, that's so scary. Lacey, thank you so much for sharing.
Anita, thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Last Halloween, I went on a ghost tour of Rolling Hills Asylum in upstate New York. Rolling balls and loud bangs. Do you know where that is? You're from New York, right? Rolling Hills Asylum.
Where is that? Like around like Rochester?
That's creepy. So you could hear creepy sounds when you're going through the tour. Do you think they were like planted or they were actually like ghosts making sounds?
Oh, I think someone asked if Pudding is with us. Like
Pudding is here, yeah. Pudding! She's probably sleeping. Whenever she first arrives at my house, she gets really excited and like runs around and smells everything, jumps on everything, and then she tires herself out and sleeps for the rest of the time. But she is around here somewhere. Alejandra, thank you. Hello, guys. Much love from Mexico. I love your video, Charla. Thank you so much. And thanks to you, I have lots of places in mind once I get to visit Japan. I hope you can visit soon. Hopefully, Japan will be opening up the country. Word is it will happen in April for those of you that are waiting. It's not confirmed, right. But yeah, that's the word. Julie wants to know your ethnicity. Every time we do a stream, somebody wants to know. We need to get you a t-shirt. Or like not Charla's boyfriend. I'm Filipino, but I was born in the USA.
Mixed, whatever. I don't know.
Do you want to tell Julie? I think she must have missed the last one.
Yeah, I'm like Filipino mixed. And American, but I don't have the American twang, I guess. I'm very neutral accent.
Yeah, so, you don't. Nobody realizes you're from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all think you're Japanese and you speak really good English. Okay, your Japanese is probably as good as your English, so I can see why. Hannah! Thank you. I wanted to send the story of when a ghost attached itself to me, but it's way too long. If I do visit Japan one day and we hopefully get to meet up, I'll explain the story. I would love to hear it. Please tell me. Yeah, if you ever feel like writing it out one day, send me an email. I'm totally up for reading it. It will not be too long. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to read this next story?
Sure.
I read this one last night.
Who is this from? Brittany. About 10 years ago, my boyfriend at the time was renting out the third floor of a house with a friend. The house was over 100 years old, so already had a creepy vibe. But they would always claim to hear footsteps at night or wake up to all the cupboards in the kitchen open. Hearing that was creepy, but can be shrugged off. But there was one night I was staying over, and my boyfriend and I were getting ready for bed. It was about 2 to 3 a.m., so the house and outside was already quiet. But as soon as we lay down, we heard bang, bang, bang on our window, making it shake. My boyfriend immediately jumped out and ran to the window to see what it was, but there was nothing. We were 3 stories up, but it sounded exactly as if someone went up to it and started hitting it to get our attention or something. That was super scary, and we couldn't find any explanation for it.
Yeah, when I first read it, I was like, someone banging on the window. It's probably just some like stupid kid outside. Right. Then she says there were 3 stories up, and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, that would be so scary.
Yeah.
Because what could it be? And like, even if a bird hit the window, it would just be like one thud.
Or maybe like just like it was like a family of birds. We're like, oh, look at that.
They all hit it. I don't know. That's really scary.
That's wild.
I live up on a high floor too, so if that ever happens to me in the middle of the night, I'll be freaked out. Okay. Oh yeah, and she said the cupboards would always open themselves.
Yeah.
That was one pattern that I saw in lots of messages. People lived in old houses or apartments, and in the middle of the night, they'd hear noise, and they'd go down to the kitchen, and all the cupboards would be open. Like,
was that poltergeist?
Ghosts seem to love doing that. It was a really common occurrence in many of these stories. Okay, this is from Nick. Thank you, Nick. So my spooky story begins when one day my sister and my 3 young nephews were sleeping over for the weekend. Everything was normal up until my brother and I were both in our rooms. I kept hearing a knock on my door, so I went to check who it was, and no one was there. This continued for a while until my bedroom door swung open by itself, and I heard footsteps scurry over to my brother's room and knock on his door. Immediately, I assumed it was my nephews messing around, so I went out to tell them to knock it off, and no one was there. So I went downstairs to tell my parents and my sister, and all 3 of my nephews were laying on the floor asleep. To this day, I still don't know what caused it. What the hell? Oh, that's so scary. That's like the one time that I heard Morrow playing with his toys on the stairs. He had this toy with a bell on it, and he would pick it up, bring it to the top of the stairs, and then kind of like throw it down the stairs himself. And then like he'd repeat that over and over. So I heard him running up and down this. I was lying in bed upstairs, and I heard him running up and down the stairs with his bell toy. And I like sat up to like tell him to shut up, and he was sleeping on my feet. So it wasn't him. Yeah, really creepy. But like cat ghost, okay, I could deal with a cat ghost.
Okay, come sleep with me.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mind.
Sebastian, thank you.
Hey, Sharla and Mark, I love you both very much. Big hugs to you both from, Saguni. My French isn't good. You're going to have to help me out here. In the province of Quebec, Canada. By the way, Mark, can Mark be my boyfriend? He's so freaking gorgeous. Thank you, Sebastian. Artemis, thank you so much. Lechuza Encounter, hope you guys enjoyed. If my story is picked, I remember your email. Thank you. Hopefully we will find it in the sea of emails to read out. I did star it to read. Thanks so much, you guys.
I want to find Pudding real quick. Gotta show them the
She's definitely gonna be sleeping under the sofa.
Yeah.
I'll find the next story to read. Oh, this one is something that happened in Japan. I actually got a few stories that originated in Japan when you guys were here to visit. During my time in Japan, I don't really have any spooky ghost stories, except for the first time that I was here on a school trip, and I had a film camera, so I took all my pictures on my film camera. Pritine's got her Halloween costume on. And I had taken some pictures of a really famous grave of, I think he was like a samurai lord or something. Anyways, and the photos got developed, and right in the middle of the grave, like coming out of the grave, was a red like spiral. It was really weird. Like, it wasn't something that would just look like dust on the lens or something. Right. It was like a proper like big red spiral coming out of the middle of the grave. Big girl. Oh no, she's gone to chew on the lights. So yeah, that was like my only weird ghost maybe experience in Japan. But this is from Laura. She's Happy Berry Crochet on YouTube. She had a spooky experience when she was a teacher in Fukuoka in the summer of 2004. I was teaching my class one day in an all-girls school, and I had to leave my class to take a student who was sick to the deputy head. It was during a huge thunderstorm, and I remember the rain was so heavy. Upon returning alone to my class, I happened to glance down into the outside recreation area, and I saw a man standing there in the rain, staring up at me. Looking away, I thought about how weird that was because, firstly, there were no men on campus other than the deputy head. And this man was dressed in traditional Japanese clothing, which was even more strange. So I looked back right away, but he was gone. I looked over the balcony and saw no one. I asked about it to the Japanese teachers, but nobody knew who this could be. That's her spooky experience. That's really terrifying. Imagine if you just saw a guy like dressed in traditional clothing just staring up at you in the middle of a rainy thunderstorm. No, thank you. That's just really strange. The fact that he was wearing traditional clothes, you don't wear traditional clothes here for no reason. Yeah. Like, the only time you'll see somebody wearing like a yukata or a kimono if it's a matsuri, a festival, right. Or if they're doing like a tea ceremony in their kimono, or maybe going to a funeral or something.
Sometimes, very rarely, people like just for like shopping, like during the summer, like they'll wear like kind of like like on a like a stylish kind of like a. I want to say yukata, but not really that. It's more like, traditional clothing. They just want to kind of shut it out.
Like older people?
No, even younger people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen some younger people do that,
yeah, but it's not like an everyday occurrence.
Right, yeah.
So the fact that he was wearing that was really weird.
Especially out in the rain.
Out in the rain? No. You wouldn't want to wear those out in the rain. That's really creepy. Thanks so much for sharing, Laura.
Jade Eyes, thank you.
Thank you, Jade. Oh, your first live stream. Yay. Thanks so much for stopping by. Yeah, please. You could send your ghost stories to sharlaspookystories@gmail.com. I would love to read them. And if I get lots more, we can always do another one of these streams if you guys enjoy hearing the stories. So yeah, please do. I would love to hear them.
Hi, no, thank you. Aslan. What's Aslan?
Oh, no, she's just a random lion. But yeah, she could be. Why not? I thought she was Simba at first. Another one about cabinets. Yay. Oh, a ghost dog. I love these. Okay. This is from Clarissa. Thank you, Clarissa. I saw your post on YouTube about wanting to read paranormal experiences. I have one about a ghost dog. It isn't the spookiest of stories, more of a cute type of spooky, but here goes. There was a ghost dog that haunted my bedroom for about 5 years. It would come and go throughout the night and play around. The first thing it did was try and dig a hole in the carpet. I would wake up hearing scratching coming from the floor. It was the exact type of digging sounds a dog would make, where it was fast for a second or two and then nothing. And then it would repeat for about 15 minutes. Imagine hearing that in your bedroom in the night. What the fuck?
I hear that every night.
I would not be staying. You're so brave for staying in that bedroom. Next, it would run around my room and jump onto my bed. I could feel it moving around and making small indentations on the mattress. Every now and then, it would jump on me, too. It felt like a small to medium-sized dog. Could have been a puppy from a larger breed as well. Yeah. At first, I thought my parents had brought home a dog. Like, without telling you. Surprise! But even if they did, they definitely wouldn't allow it inside the house. Then I tried to see if I could see it by falling asleep facing the room. But it was a smart ghost dog because every time I did this and slept in that direction, it wouldn't show up. I think I never felt scared because it was a dog, and dogs are the best, even in ghost form. That's really cute. You're really brave for not being terrified about the digging on the carpet. If I heard that noise, I would be out of there, and I would never go back.
No, like one of my cats just like always does that.
Yeah, digs on the carpet.
Or like digs like we have like this, you know, like boxes and stuff for them to just like lay in. And like he'll just like to get our attention to wake us up because he's hungry and wants food.
Like, yeah, they do that. They do that when they want to piss you off. That's so true. Everyone's saying big rats. Yeah. I think she would have seen them though,
right?
Because she felt them jumping on her. God, imagine if it was giant rats. Okay.
What is this again? Like chocolate, cocoa, caramel?
Something caramel. Salted caramel, hot chocolate.
Yes. Eddie, yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Oh, I'm glad you could join the stream. Yay. Have a great weekend. Have a great Halloween weekend. Okay. This is from Pam. Thank you, Pam. I've had many paranormal experiences since I was a kid, seen people that no one else could see, and I also felt a hostile presence in my aunt's house. She later confirmed the spirit of a man had been seen and felt in their house for decades. The most recent event was a few years ago. I was sitting at my computer desk and the headphones were on the desk with the cord to the left. I heard a dragging noise and looked down to watch my headphones move slowly about 6 inches to the right in the opposite direction of the cord. It didn't scare me at all. It just made me very curious. In other experiences, I've been touched, seen things no one else in the room could see, and heard voices in my ear. I've only had one negative experience about 25 years ago. The rest have been either neutral or very helpful, meaning they brought me peace, comforted me, or uplifted me. Would you be scared if you saw your headphones moving by themselves across your desk?
I would be very concerned if something touched me.
That would freak me out. But like, how would you feel if you're just like working at your computer and all of a sudden you look at your headphones and they're like moving themselves across your desk?
Like, fuck, where are those cats? Where are those cats?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'd find something to blame, to be honest. But
like if there was nothing around and you
like,
saw them moving.
All right, I guess I'm going up for a bit.
Like it would be kind of cool, but I would definitely be scared. Okay. Oh, this is an interesting one.
This is from G. Anderson. My aunt passed away unexpectedly late one night during a hospital stay. Within a couple of weeks, we got a phone call from an unknown number that for some reason somehow looked familiar. The female voice said, "Hey, I'm here, safe, love ya." My mom had answered the phone and had said the voice sounded so familiar. It took her a few days to realize it sounded just like her sister. She didn't delete the caller ID yet and was able to look back and realize the phone number was that mysterious voice was my aunt's home phone number backwards.
Backwards.
Chills. Another time that my aunt made her presence known was a couple months after. She loved snowman decor and would always have her home decked out for the holidays. When she was in the hospital, I got her a 3-foot snowman. The night she died, my uncle gave that snowman back to me to remember her. We had placed the snowman on the top shelf where it actually had to be wedged between the top of the shelf and the ceiling, wedged towards the wall. So there was no way it could move. One day, I heard a scraping noise coming from the spare room where it was kept. Then a thud. The stuffed snowman decor had some weight to it. I ended up finding it laying on the floor in front of the bookshelf. That scraping noise was the sound of fabric across the popcorn textured ceiling.
So she heard it fall off.
Kind of like drag off the shelf
and then fall off.
Popping off.
Pretty. Oh, she's walking so awkward. Take off the lion costume. Pretty. You want to take it off? Okay, that phone call part is terrifying. What?
Yeah, like the backwards number. That's wild.
So they got a call from their aunt who had passed away. I guess their sister, because it was the mom who got the call. She answered the phone and recognized the voice, and then she looked up the caller ID, and it was her sister who had passed away. Her number backwards. That's like horror movie level.
That's wild. Yeah.
Terrifying. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a really cool story. That was the only story I got that involved a phone. Interestingly enough. Oh, are you gonna sleep on my lap? Good girl. Good girl. You sleepy.
She'll be there for like all of like 30 seconds.
I know. she's so like indecisive. Good girl. Sleepy girl. No, she's purring. You're just happy we took the lion costume off.
Oh yeah, when I was
You have another story.
no, because I saw this what do you call it, this Kazame-san, this one time I seen Ronald McDonald in person. That's scary. So when I was a kid, like elementary school, I was deathly afraid of clowns, and I was really afraid of Ronald McDonald.
It's such a bad choice for a mascot.
I know.
Like, he's terrifying looking.
And so like one night I had a really vivid imagination. I was like, oh, thank you, Sammy.
Thank you, Sammy. Aw. 3 kids under 4. Oh dear. I'm so glad you could make it to the live stream this time.
Yeah, so I had a really vivid imagination. So like I would see things. Like I would daydream. Like I would have my eyes open. I would be like asleep, like dreaming.
Like imagining things.
And so like one night I like woke up and it was pitch black around me. And like it was just like boom, like right at the foot of my bed.
Yeah.
This fucking clown. just like looking at me.
Oh my god.
Just like kind of like, you know, like smiling.
But you
like,
think you were imagining it?
Oh yeah, I was definitely fucking imagining, but it was fucking like flipping like all over the place. I was like, oh my god,
That's
oh my god,
so
oh my god,
scary.
oh my god.
I used to watch Unsolved Mysteries, like the original one, like from the probably 90s when I was really young, and there's this one episode about a clown that kept appearing in the corner of someone's room, and ever since then I would like always be like looking at the corner of my room.
Why is it always a fucking corner? Also,
just
like
standing there.
One thing I love about Japanese like showers, bathrooms is that like we can see the entire like bathroom, right? Like there's no we don't do curtains here.
Yeah. Like if you have your toilet in there, you mean?
Yeah.
Mine's separate, but yeah, like the smaller apartments, it's like toilet, bath, shower, all in one room.
All in one. And so like like that's how I grew up with. So like we always had this curtain on the bathtub, and like I hate that curtain because I always feel like there's something like there's something behind it, and it freaks me out every time. So.
The thing I don't like about our bathrooms is they have like a mirror in them. So like when you're in the shower, there's always a big mirror there. I don't like that.
Really? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just creepy because I always feel like something's going to appear in it. Don't you?
No.
I'm not used to having a mirror in the shower.
I'm always using it when I'm shaving.
Mine always fogs up and I can't really see anything in it anyways. Let's see.
Have you ever had a like a sleep paralysis?
Yeah, I used to. Only in one apartment though. After I moved out of there, I never had it again.
Like when I went back to my house for like a brief stint like a couple of years ago, and I stayed at the guest bedroom because my brother had overtaken my bedroom. And so the first night I just like wake up just like paralyzed, and like I'm like right next to the window, but like whatever, like it's I think it was I'd say like maybe like 5 or something, like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And all I could remember seeing was this fucking head
in the window,
this veil, this the head, just the head with a veil over it, just kind of like this close to my face.
That's so weird.
And I'm like, Hook.
But you couldn't move.
you know how it is.
Sleep paralysis is
anyone who's ever had sleep paralysis knows it. It's kind of like, I want to talk, but I can't. So all you can do is go like,
and you can't move. Oh, that's so creepy. Ooh, another story about a Ouija board. Okay, this is from Taylor. Thank you, Taylor. The only paranormal experience I've had was 3 years ago when I was 19. My friends and I were using a Ouija board on holiday break from college for simple fun, but it ended up being more intense than we anticipated. As we were using it, the board started to spell out a name and explain that it was an evil spirit slash demon, to which we all started to freak out and tried to figure out how to stop playing. After we were able to successfully end what we thought was a game correctly, we thought that it was over and nothing was going to happen, since nothing seemed out of place at the time. Poutine. A week later, my friend who had been there using the board got into a horrible car accident on the highway. Thankfully, she was okay other than some bad bruises, but the car was completely totaled. Somebody had hit the back end of her car, pushing it into the concrete divide. Everything in her trunk, except the Ouija board, was completely destroyed. One of the officers who responded saw the board and threw it into the woods. To this day, we think it was the Ouija board that caused the accident, since the car who hit her, their brakes had failed. Honestly, so happy she walked away okay, but it scared all of us away from taking any paranormal thing too lightly. That's so creepy. Everything's destroyed but the board. I love how the cop was just like, oh, hell no. Throws it without even like asking. Holy shit. That's very creepy. I didn't have any issues with my Ouija board. I had fun with it. It would answer questions, and I would always assume it was my friends just moving it. But then I played with my grandma, and it spelled something out, and I was like, "That's kind of weird." Oh, this one's interesting. Let me read that one.
This is from Christina. Where should I start?
Green. Stop playing with the lights.
One summer, my family and I traveled to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Hannah. Oh, is it? Is it 3 a.m. Halloween day? Oh, dear. Good luck. Don't play Ouija board.
Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We were touring the park and we were walking into one of the gift shops. My parents and my sisters had already entered. My grandfather and I were walking onto the porch where a group of men dressed in Confederate soldier uniforms were standing. One of them looked at me and with a thick southern drawl made a joke about me wearing such little clothing. I had on shorts and a tank top. I replied that it's summer and it's hot, and then joked back that they were the crazy ones wearing wool uniforms in this heat. They laughed. My grandfather and I entered the store. My grandfather walked up to the front desk and told the cashier that the reenactors on the front porch were funny guys. And she replied, "What reenactors?" My grandfather was confused, and I went running back to the front of the store, opened the door to see a completely empty porch. It freaked me out for days. I couldn't sleep that night. I can't believe I not only interacted but spoke to a ghost.
That's so creepy. It was a group of men in soldier uniforms
Like
on the porch.
Yeah.
What the heck? That's actually, there's one other story that I read through that was really similar. They thought they were somebody like reenacting the war or whatever, but it turns out that they weren't actually there, and they looked back and they were completely gone. So creepy. Okay, this one's really interesting. It took me a while to understand it when I read it over the first time. This is from Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. So to start with, I've never believed in ghosts and still don't, but this is the only time that I really could not explain what happened, and the events were just too uncanny to not be related. So when I was in high school, I had this group of friends that would hang out, and one night we all stayed at my friend Jordan's house. Her parents were always weird about having people over, so this was the first time that we would be staying at her house. She had one older brother and sister that I knew about. Now, the night was totally normal till we all went to bed, and I had this crazy dream about being in a car and driving without brakes. And I was trying to figure out a safe way to stop the car on the highway. And I decided that I had to try and stop the car by flipping it somehow. Then the dream totally switches to me and Jordan. I'm talking to her and repeatedly asking her to tell me about your brother, not your brother, but your other brother, over and over again. I wake up the next morning and over breakfast, I tell her and our other friends about the second part where I kept asking her about her other brother. And she tells me that before her dad married her mom, he had a son with his first wife that passed away in a car accident. And I was totally blown away and couldn't believe it. And this is the only time that I had an experience like that that really made me question if I believe in ghosts. But really, I still don't, because I think that most likely I'm just very good at reading people, even on a subconscious level. But yeah, I thought you guys might think it's a good one. How could you possibly read that she had like a brother from her dad's previous marriage that died in a car crash? Like, that's not something you could read on someone's face. So that is pretty creepy that you dreamed about that, and the first time you'd stayed at her house too. Yeah, can't think of any explanation about that one.
Yeah, no.
That would freak me out. Sorry, Jessica, I think it was a ghost. Wow, yikes. Pretty. You can hear her sniffing.
She's laying down.
Sniffing. It's very long. Mimi.
Oh, can I get a show of like comments of people currently living in Japan or have lived in Japan? Real quick in the chat. Just like say something. Say yes if you've lived or are currently living in Japan.
Ever lived in Japan?
Yeah. Oh.
Thank you, CLTNC. Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Oh, your mother's from Iwate. No way. That's really cool. Is it a city near Morioka? Thank you, Shannon. Hope you're all having a great night. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween to you too. Is it Halloween where you are now? Pretty. What are you eating? Stop it.
Okay, so for the people who are currently or have lived in Japan, I have like one really short horror story for you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But they have to understand Japan.
Yeah.
They have to have lived in Japan.
You have to have lived in Japan to like completely understand this. Okay. It's gonna be real quick. Ready? NHK.
No, too soon. They just came to my door like 3 days ago. There was one really good story about a closet. I'm trying to find it. It really creeped me out.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So people who don't understand, NHK is this like broadcasting company in Japan, and they
like a TV, TV company.
And so like you're not obligated to, but you're expected to pay their fees, which can get kind of high. And so like if you're not paying the fees, like people will come to your door and be like, you gotta sign this.
And they're really like aggressive
they're
and
really
forceful about it. Like not how you would expect a Japanese person to act. Like they're not polite. They're rude, and they physically try to force themselves into your room to check if you have a TV.
The ones I've encountered in Morioka have been really nice though. But when I was living in Kawasaki, like this one guy was like, you gotta pay us. And I was like, what happens if I don't? He's like, well, bad things are gonna happen to you. I'm like, did I just get threatened? Like bad things are gonna are you gonna send some muscle to my house? Yeah, like he was like, yeah, like some bad things are gonna happen to you if you don't pay us. I was like, whoa, bro. Whoa.
I've got a really good NHK story. So he showed up at my apartment. He was standing outside. I opened the door. He was like trying to force himself in. And he was being so rude. Yeah. I was just like, I don't watch TV, dude. I hate TV. Japanese TV sucks. Like I have one. I use it to play video games, but I'm not paying your like broadcasting fee. Fuck off. Right. And a cicada like flew into his face and like smacked him in the head so hard, and he screamed. It was so hilarious, and I just like took that opportunity to shut the door and lock it. Yeah, but you gotta watch out for the NHK man. Okay, I just got a mail from Holly. Thank you, Holly. I'm assuming you're watching now. She just sent in a story right now, so I'm gonna read it out. My husband's family and I moved to a small town in North Carolina. There seem to be lots of stories. Oh no, are we frozen?
Yeah.
Oh no. Why? Why are we frozen? Is the chat still active?
No.
Oh shit. Why? Can you guys hear us still? Our screen's frozen here. Not sure what the problem could be.
Apparently it's not frozen there.
What's the chat saying?
Yeah,
not frozen? They still
hear
hear us?
Yeah.
Do you see us okay? Oh, we're back. I wonder if my computer is getting too hot and it just like froze. We good? Cool. Okay, I think we're back. Phew. Yeah, my computer feels
really hot.
A little hot. I'll try and like angle it so it gets a little more airflow. All right, back to the story. Yeah, North Carolina. So many stories from North Carolina. Very ghosty area of America, apparently. The house we moved into always gave me an awful vibe. I felt like I was being watched all the time. I was jumpy, especially at night, and I constantly had nightmares. A year after moving in, we heard that the builder of the home had actually died in the driveway from a heart attack, which was always where I felt the strangest. That's a weird place to feel strange,
right,
too,
yeah.
like in the driveway. Usually it would be in the creepy house. A month after that, my husband is outside at night grilling some food when I hear him start screaming, "Get off our property." I ran to the light switch to turn on the lights at the front of the house, and he stopped. He came into the house swearing that he saw someone, but there wasn't anyone there. After he calmed down, we forgot about it. Another 2 weeks passed, and I'm outside refilling a small refrigerator we had outside to keep cold water when we had to do yard work. It was probably like 9 o'clock at night, not too late. I bent down to get the water bottles and heard something beside me shift and turned, and there, standing right next to me, was a dark figure of a man reaching for me. I shot up straight, dropped every single water bottle in my hands, and went to scream, but I couldn't. My husband had heard the water bottles drop and ran to see if I was okay. He thought I had slipped. I told him what happened and cried for a solid 10 minutes. We lived there for another year, but have moved since. No more nightmares, no more encounters. I went so far as to say to this house when we moved in, never again. Holy shit. It's so creepy. It's so weird how it all stops when you move.
Yeah.
So I feel like that kind of confirms that something was happening, because moving to a new place like totally stops it. Ooh, I'm getting lots of stories from you guys. Thank you. I'm gonna go back and read the starred ones that I have first, though. Oh, this one's really creepy. Okay, so this is Diane from the Philippines. Thank you, Diane, if you're watching. So she goes to university super far away from her hometown, and she stays in the university dorm. It's not that old. It's been up for about 10 years already, and there's about 700 people living in it. But there was this one time I was washing my clothes by hand in one of the sinks in our communal bathroom. I hate using the washing machines there. Anyways, it was around 2:30 in the morning, and I could not sleep. I had a big exam coming up in the morning, so I decided to wash my clothes. As you do. The setup of our communal bathroom is that there are mirrors in front of every sink, and for some sinks, right behind it is the door leading to the toilet. Try to think of those toilets that are found in malls or even schools where there's a space to see the feet of someone, so you can see if somebody's in the cubicle. That night, the sink I used to wash my clothes was one of those that had the toilet cubicle directly behind it. I was the only one in the bathroom that night, so I was humming to myself some K-pop songs as I washed my clothes. The cubicle behind me was empty because the door was left ajar, and through the mirror, I would be able to see if somebody was standing in it. But I couldn't help the growing feeling in me that I wasn't alone. I continued to hum, and I was halfway through doing my laundry when I thought I was going crazy or hallucinating. I saw a pair of someone's bare feet in the the cubicle directly behind me. From all those years of watching horror movies, especially the Japanese, Korean, and Filipino ones, I did not dare to turn around at all because I was completely frozen. I saw the feet through the mirror and I got goosebumps all over. I knew that those were not the feet of another person living in the dorm, because who would use the bathroom in bare feet? That's just weird. Everything was starting to feel cold, and what's worse is that the pair of bare feet were not moving at all, but the toes on the feet were pointing directly at me. No. Whatever was standing behind me was directly facing me. In an instant, I really forced my body to move and dashed out of the bathroom to go back to my shared room where my other 3 roommates were sleeping. I did not care if my clothes were left behind. I knew no one would steal them, but I really had to make sure that I was out of the bathroom and that thing would not be following me. Oh my God, that's so creepy. Yeah, I would never go back in that bathroom by myself.
I would wake up my roommates and be like, hey, let's go to the bathroom, guys.
Can you go grab my clothes? I think I left something.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, because why would somebody be in there with bare feet? That's just gross. You wouldn't go to the bathroom in bare feet, like in a university dorm.
Kyoto, yeah. No.
Yeah, ew. Oh my God. That's like pure horror movie material.
Yeah, that's crazy shit.
Oh, this one's good.
Oh, very short one.
Yeah, very short.
Zeno Harry.
I think his name's different. Oh, did he say it? Oh, he didn't say his name.
Well,
maybe it's Harry.
Harry.
Thanks, Harry.
I was doing the washing up in our kitchen and putting the dishes and cutlery on the side next to me after they were done.
What do you mean?
I then see an arm reach out and grab one of the knives I had just cleaned. I turned to say to my fiancée, "What do you need that for?" But there was no one there. Feeling a bit freaked out, I walked into the living room to tell my fiancée, who didn't believe me, and said, "Yeah, all right, Harry." You didn't see. However, before they could finish, there was a massive flash of light that completely blinded us for a few seconds. All we could see was this bright white light. My fiancée freaked out and was like, "Did you just see that?" We both described the exact same light. Still freaks me out every time I stand to do the washing up. P.S. This was during the middle of the day, which made it worse because at least at night we could blame it on the car light or something. That's true.
What the heck? That's so specific.
Yeah.
So he was standing there doing his dishes and a hand reached over and grabbed a knife. What the heck? I turned to say to my fiance, "What do you need that for?" But there was no one there.
Jared, thank you.
Did
I miss
so
any of the good Japanese
Harry.
stories?
No, I haven't really had any spooky experiences living in Japan. We got a couple stories from people living in Japan, but the majority of them seem to be America and the UK. Yeah, lots of old buildings there. Lots of history. So I'm trying to find that one with the closet. I really liked it.
The closet. Oh God.
Yeah.
Buddy, kolla.何しとんねん。お前どこ行ったの?
She's eating the lights.
Buddy, my zero.
Okay, this is from Cheyenne. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. This story is from a few years ago when me and my mom worked together as commercial cleaners. We had this one place that we cleaned that was an office building that did medical stuff for the hospital across the street. Every time we had to go there, it felt like I was being watched, and it was just a super creepy place. One night when we were there, my mom was on the second floor and I was on the first floor. I had just finished cleaning and was heading up the stairs when I heard my mom yell my name really loud and clear. So I started walking quicker to see what she wanted. When I got up the stairs and asked what she wanted, she said, "What?" I didn't say anything. I heard it clear as day, and from then on, I 100% believe ghosts exist. There was also one night we arrived there and the first floor alarm was going off, but it hadn't been set off by anyone and it wouldn't turn off for about an hour. I've never felt so afraid like I did when I was in that building. Oh God. It was just her and her mom in the building, and somebody calls her name really loud. So of course she assumes it was her mom,
Right.
but then her mom's like, "What? I didn't say anything."
Mom was just a really good prankster.
Maybe. Do you trust your mom? Is she telling the truth? That's really creepy though.
Will, Molly, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Will. Aw, that's really cute. There's lots of stories about people seeing like a shadow figure at the end of their bed. Have you guys, has anyone here experienced that? It seems to be so common. Just in the night, people will like open their eyes and wake up, and at the foot of their bed, there'll be a big shadow figure. And many of the times they're wearing a hat. I don't know why, but that seems to be so common. I swear I got about 20 stories of somebody that told me that. Yeah, I thought it probably sounded like sleep paralysis too, but you'd think they would also mention the part about not being able to move and stuff, because that always comes together with it, right? Man with no name, thank you very much.
I woke up to
Saba. Oh, thank you. Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Is your birthday on Halloween, or is it the 30th where you are? That's awesome.
So like I woke up to sleep.
Joshua. Oh, Halloween. Woo, happy Halloween. My dog started howling in her sleep. Oh dear.
Having nightmares.
Oh dear.
So like I woke up to sleep paralysis one time, and I was sleeping prone. And
you were what?
Like sleeping like face down.
Oh, okay.
And so like from like the door, like my bed was facing the door, and I could feel like this like presence at the door, right? And I can't move, but I can feel it like coming towards me.
Oh.
And so like I just get like this.
She's like poking me. She just poked me in the back. It creeped me out.
So like yeah, like I just felt this like thing like coming towards me like from my door, and like I just get this chills like from my spine, just like crawling up, and it goes like this close, like to
while
my
you're
back of my head.
sleeping.
While I'm like sleep paralyzed.
Oh, sleep
so, like,
paralyzed.
I'm, like, half awake.
Yeah.
And so I get it gets like this close to my head.
Oh.
And I'm like me.
But like you can kind of tell when it's like sleep paralysis because you're like kind of awake.
Yeah.
But, like you know what's going on.
Yeah. Like there was something there. I was like,
that must be what all these people who see like the shadow figure are, because it sounds so like similar to what sleep paralysis is. Okay, this is a really long one, but I thought it was really creepy, so I'm gonna read it. I've had a spooky experience, to say the least, and it flipped my entire sort of limited perception of the world upside down. I didn't ever really believe in that stuff before, but as I said, this moment changed my life. Apologies for the length, but here's the story. My grandmother has lived in the same house for 46 years now, and I've been inside that house so many times I've lost count. Nothing ever happened. It was super peaceful and quiet and boring. Her husband, my grandpa, died in 1993, and I barely remember him, but I have this extremely vivid memory of 7-year-old me running to my grandma and telling her insistently that I saw grandpa out by the currant bushes. This was in 1997, so 4 years after he died. I remember her telling me to be quiet and not say such foolish things. It's an extremely vivid memory that I can recall to this day. I know I saw him there. Anyways, that's not what this is about. There were many things surrounding my grandpa that were out of the ordinary, that were revealed to me a couple months after this story happened, but that's not important right now. So what happened? In 2014, I spent the last half of July with my grandma because she was alone at the time and going through a really rough time. And as her life partner was in the hospital with a serious heart condition, she was there to keep her company. We celebrated our nation's birthday on August 1st and returned home at about 10:30 p.m. I entered the house, so familiar and lovely, but suddenly something felt off. There's a long corridor leading back to the guest room we always slept in, even as kids. There should be nothing out of the ordinary, but there was something invisible drawing me in, yet it was still there. I was starting to feel really spooked and called for my grandma. She didn't reply, and you can guess how I felt in that moment. Until I realized that she had stayed outside to speak to our neighbors, I felt like a complete idiot and told my brain to calm the fuck down. We had a lovely chat, a cup of tea, and then headed to bed. From the moment I hit the sheets, I felt like someone was watching me, yet I was still in the calm the fuck down mode, and soothed by the tea, I eventually fell asleep. Then I had the most vivid dream of my grandpa standing in the corner of the very room I was sleeping in, mouth wide open, soundlessly screaming at me. That's scary enough in itself. I was fucking terrified and frozen in fear. Eventually, I screamed for my grandma, but her life partner, basically our grandpa for the last 20 years, came storming in instead. That's when I realized it was a dream because her partner was in the hospital at the time. I woke up from this all and the room was absolutely freezing. Remember, this is August and the temperatures that day were super warm. So I lay there in the pitch dark, freezing room, and I swear to you, and I know this sounds insane, I felt a gentle yet freezing hand touch my upper left arm. I squeaked and flailed, and it disappeared. I rubbed my arm to get warm, which worked, until the hand came back, and that was it. I turned on the light, prepared for the worst, and there was, of course, nothing there. The room was still freezing, though, so I got up and checked if a window was open. Nothing. Both the window frame and the glass were warm to the touch, as was the bed, but the air in the room was freezing. I refused to turn the light off for the rest of the night and read things on my phone to distract me until I eventually fell asleep again. The next morning, my grandma asked me if I slept well. I was very close to telling her what happened, but I refrained. That same day, her daughter, my aunt, took me out for lunch. The experience just wouldn't leave me alone, so before we got out of the car, I told her to wait and that I needed to tell her something. I told her everything and she went white as a sheet. She proceeded to tell me that my grandmother had seen my grandpa in the living room 2 days earlier. Apparently, she told him, "Leave me alone, you're dead," and to go away. My aunt then told me that she had a similar experience when she slept over the day my grandpa died in 1993. She had never slept in that house since because of that, and she swears up and down that both her and my grandma have heard him hum and sing in the house multiple times. Not knowing what to do with that information, I went home. I had a couple more experiences in my own home that I can't explain, including a humming sound right next to my ear when I was cleaning the bathroom. I finally had enough and looked up a prayer asking whatever this was to leave. I've been fine since and never the same since either.
Wow.
Oh, wait. By the way, remember the currant bush story? My aunt told me that my grandpa wanted his ashes to be spread there, which the family refused to do. What the fuck? That's so specific. Holy shit. That dream you had was just terrifying. Oh, scary. Scary story. That's a really good one. Thank you so much for sharing. That would creep me out. Have you gone back to your grandma's house ever since then? I don't know if I'd be able to stay over again.
Like, no. I would just get a hotel.
Yeah, grandpa's pissed. They didn't spread his ashes where he wanted. And yeah, it doesn't seem like he wants to leave the house.
Yeah.
Aw, that's kind of sad. Trying to find one with like a shadow figure. There were so many.
Hannah.
Oh, Hannah. I fell asleep on the sofa once, and the woman of the couple that haunts my house shook me awake. I was shocked to wake up to nothing, but I wasn't scared as I know she was just looking out for me. So they're good. They're good ghosts.
Like it's kind of like, hey.
You
like
don't
when you say
mind
shake,
them?
is
was it like
this kind of shake or kind of like,
or like a
yo? How you doing?
It's a Sharla Spooky Stories. No S. No Sharlas. Just one S. Sharla Spooky Stories at gmail.com. Gonna find that closet one.
You really want to read that?
I really want to read it. It really freaked me out.
It's currently 1:13 a.m. in Japan. PM.
It's not the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's afternoon here. Unfortunately.
It was a firm shake, but not painful.
That's really creepy. This is a really short one, but kind of creepy. This is from Erin. Thank you, Erin. When I was a young lad, my father and I were both having a nap on the couch. My mother was outside hanging out the laundry. She then heard someone calling out. We lived on a farm, so this was odd to begin with. She looked towards the house and saw someone in the bedroom acting frantic and telling her to come to the bedroom. She had thought my auntie had come to visit, so she came inside to investigate, but nobody was there. The heck? So she heard somebody calling out and saw, I guess, a female figure in the bedroom acting frantic and telling them to come to the bedroom.
I'd be like, no.
But nobody was there but the son and the dad. Yikes. No, thank you. So many creepy farm stories. I'm really glad I don't live on a farm right now. Oh, I know one. Oh, was it Sarah? My friend Sarah sent me one. Okay, yeah. So she lived in Japan for a while. She lived in a homestay with a really big family, a mom, dad, 2 brothers, and a sister. There was only one toilet, which shared a wall to the bath, but was in separate rooms. One night I went to the toilet and I could hear water splashing over on the bath side. I didn't think much of it until I went to the living room and saw that the whole family was there watching TV. I asked who was in the bath and they said that nobody was, and we all freaked out. Holy shit. A different time I was hanging out in my homestay sister's bedroom, which is next to the genkan. The bedroom had a stained glass type window. We heard the sound of footsteps and saw the shadow of someone walk by. We assumed it was the mom. We yelled, "Okaidi, welcome back," to her, but she didn't respond. We thought that was rude, but didn't want to leave our room. About 5 minutes later, we heard the door open, close, footsteps, and the mom called out, "Tadaima, I'm home." We ran to her and asked why she came home twice, and she, of course, told us that she didn't. That one was super freaky. Okay, the bath one really freaks me out, because how could you explain splashing in the bath?
Right,
What the
yeah,
hell
yeah.
would be like a shadow? Maybe it's like a branch or something. I don't know.
Just a hentai man.
But like just a hentai man in the bath. That is so creepy. Holy crap. I feel like baths are just scary in general. Like you said, with like the shower curtain and stuff, and not being able to see behind it.
I hate curtains.
Yeah.
I hate them so much.
Yikes. Pudding.
She's still not.
Oh, this one's Native American story. This is really interesting. This isn't something that happened to me, but happened to my grandmother and mom. For context, they used to live on the Winnebago Reservation in Nebraska. We're Native American. One day, they were helping deliver food out to the elders who lived on the homesteads a little ways from town. It had just turned dark, the sun had set, and they were on their last delivery. They were on a dirt road that had opened up into a large field once they had turned the corner, and suddenly the car started to act weird. My grandma pulled the car over, and then it died. It wouldn't start, it wouldn't make a sound. All of a sudden, my mom and grandma had heard sounds all around them. Muffled at first, they said, but then they got louder. They rolled down the windows a little bit and realized it was the sounds of war. Horses stampeding, women and children crying, war cries, gunshots, cannons, everything you would expect to hear in an old Western movie. It lasted about 5 minutes, and then when it finally quieted down, my grandma finally tried the car again, and it started. They tore out of there and continued to the homestead they were on their way to. When they got there, they asked the elder about what it could have been, and the old woman told them it was the ancestors opening up the past for you so you could see what our people had gone through. It was a time warp into the past for the present to see. Holy crap. That's an intense one.
It's not scary, but like it's really kind of sad.
Well, that would be scary though. Really? To just be in the middle of nowhere in a field and all of a sudden it starts sounding like war. Yeah. That'd be really creepy. You'd think you were losing it. But it was her mom and grandma. So there were 2 of them. So I'm assuming they both had the same experience. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing.
Hannah, Bob the Ghost is
Kadira? I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, but thank you so much. That was really interesting. Bob the Ghost is onto his second bowl of popcorn.
Is Bob the ghost's name Hannah?
So many people hear footsteps.
Yeah, footsteps are
like
crazy.
running towards them and stuff.
Yeah.
That seems to be very common. Oh, this one's gross. Okay. I live in downtown St. Louis, Missouri with my boyfriend and lived. This is past. We lived in a high-rise building. It was like 35 or more floors with like 30 apartments on each floor. So not a small building. I was by myself one day cleaning up and I was in the kitchen wiping the countertops when a pen started moving by itself slowly, like an inch. I didn't touch it. I wasn't even cleaning near it. Here's the creepy part. My boyfriend and a few of our friends came home almost immediately after the mysterious moving pen. So I'm still a little weirded out by the whole moving pen thing. However, their faces were in shock and disgust, and it pushed what I saw out of my mind. So I pushed what I saw out of my mind and I asked them, "What's going on with you guys? You look like you saw something horrible." Well, turns out as they were taking the elevator up to the 7th floor, the elevator stopped on the 3rd floor for some reason. Apparently, when the elevator stopped on the 3rd floor to let someone out, they was letting someone out, it smelled bad. A woman had passed away and a leasing agent had just found her body. So at the complex, they had a deal where you paid the first and last month rent, but you got the second month free. The woman had more than likely died within that first month, so she had been lying there for at least 2 months before the leasing office realized she hadn't paid her 3rd month rent. Oh God. So when they went to talk to her about her late rent, they found her dead. When they found the body was around the time the pen moved, and we lived directly above her apartment. Creepy. Holy crap. How did nobody notice the smell for 2 months? Because apparently they could smell it from the elevator, so you'd think that whole floor would just smell horrible. That's really creepy, though. This happy girl. Oh, read that one. Happy girl.
It's pretty so loud.
Come on, closet.
You lost it. You lost the closet.
I really want to read this one, you guys. What happened to it? Happy girl.
There's so many too.
I know.
Can you guys hear pudding?
So
like this, like purring. As9 Wolf, thank you. Thanks for sharing my story. And I just wanted to say after that, my mom and grandma went past that same field and saw shadow people along the road back to town heading back.
Oh, the car story. Thank you.
Wow.
Did I say your name right? How do you pronounce it? Is it like Kadira? It's a really cool name.
Yeah.
I can't believe they went back there. I would just avoid that area of town
Entirely, yeah.
afterwards. No, thank you.
If you're wearing headphones, you can hear pudding, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nice.
This is pretty interesting. So this is a story about me that was told to me by my parents because I was a small child, so I don't have any memory of it happening. When I was younger, me and my family used to spend our holidays in France. We'd stay for 2 weeks, renting 2 different places in 2 different places for each week. That time we were in the place in the middle of nowhere. I was a small child, so I was still sleeping with my parents in their bed. Apparently one night I was restless. I tossed and turned and ended up waking up my mom. She says that I was also talking in my sleep and almost crying, and that at some point I yelled something that I could roughly translate to English as "quell the fire." Now, as I said, I was a little child, and the words that I used are not ones you would expect a child to know, like quell. In fact, she said this in Italian. But yeah, it was like a weird word that a young child wouldn't know.
Elizabeth, thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Happy Halloween. In fact, when I was told the story, I still didn't know that word. So apparently it's like a pretty archaic word that isn't used much in Italian. Needless to say, my mom got chills, but that's not it. When we were leaving, my parents asked the landlord about the house, and they found out that it had been destroyed about a century earlier because of a fire. So she was like dreaming about the fire that destroyed the house. That's so weird that she said a word that she doesn't know, though.
Right.
That's like when you have dreams in another language and you're speaking like fluently. Do you ever do that? And then it's like, wait, but I don't speak that language. How was I doing that? That's really creepy.
I have a lot where I'm playing the piano. Like
really?
Yeah.
And you don't play piano?
Yeah, I'm shit at it.
Yeah.
So, but
you can play it really well.
Definitely not that. We froze again.
No.
It's too hot.
Are we all right?
I'm sure we're all right.
Computer's packing it in. Time for a new computer. I just got this one like a year ago. God damn
you get for getting a Mac.
I think we're back.
Oh yeah.
Cool. I wonder if I could search for closet. Do you think I could search my emails for closet? Would it come up? Oh, yeah.
Closet.
Look at so many emails.
Closet.
Yeah, so many emails about closets.
Where'd you go? Not there. Where's our BGM?
No, this isn't the one though. Was this the one?
Did Mark get a tan? No.
It hasn't really been sunny here.
Yeah. I did get a haircut for people who didn't know this, so thank you.
No, that's not the one. Damn it, where's the closet story? It was so good.
Me. Art, did you check out Chris Slay's video, Spooky Abandoned Love Hotel? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's so creepy. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, go to the Abroad in Japan channel and watch it. But they like randomly discovered this abandoned love hotel while Natsuki was on a smoking break. And they went inside because they're like so brave. And it was so creepy. There were like drawings of dead people on the walls and like stories about this girl that killed herself. And yeah, it was, I can't believe they went in.
Wow.
And yeah, it sounds scripted, right? But it's just like this random house. It's so creepy. Not house, love hotel. Short horror story 2020. Somebody else sent me an email like that. Hannah says, my friend and neighbors had to break into the house of a lady who they thought was visiting family, but one saw her cat out a window. The cat had been surviving off the woman. Oh, if you know what I mean. Oh no. Oh, they thought the lady was away, but she died and the cat was eating her. No. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, this is a good one. This is a story that happened to a family member of mine. We'll call her Celia. Celia always goes to the cemetery on the anniversary of her father's death.
Man with no name.
Man with no name, thank you. Happy Halloween. She has brought him flowers every year for over 20 years. No, I think they can hear us though. Yeah. As long as it's cool enough.
Okay.
This year, should have gone as usual, except that she found a man standing just a few rows from the grave of her father. This was particularly odd because this is a very old cemetery, and she usually didn't run into other people there. But she greeted the man as she neared her father's tombstone. Excuse me, the old man spoke up. Have you seen my son? Celia politely told him she hadn't run into anyone else so far.
Jade Eyes, thank you.
Thank you. Jade, I will try and look for your email. What's your email address? I'll search for you.
Or name.
Celia politely told him she hadn't run into anyone else so far. The man nodded and introduced himself after a pause. Well, my name is Dan. Celia figured the old man was craving a bit of company, comfort, and conversation, as is the case for many old folks. So the two had a short but friendly discussion. It wasn't long before Celia felt the weight of the flowers bearing down on her arms. Please excuse me for a moment, Celia told him, looking down at the huge bouquet of flowers she held. These are for my father. The man nodded and smiled, and Celia turned her back on him to carefully set the flowers down on her father's grave. Celia took a moment to whisper a prayer and kind words for her late father. Turning back around, she found herself completely alone in the cemetery. A chill ran down her spine as she called out for the old man, but she got no response. As she passed the grave where the old man was standing, she caught a glimpse of the first name on the tombstone, Daniel. Celia would later tell us that she had never left a cemetery so quickly in her life. So the man introduced himself as Daniel.
Goosebumps.
Oh my god.
Goosebumps.
That one's really cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. What a neat story. Jade Eyes, lovely redhead. Let me see if I can find your story. It's not showing up. That lovely redhead.
Nathaniel, have you heard the Kisaragi Station creepypasta story? Yes, I know
Have
of
you?
Kisaragi Station.
Oh, I don't.
That's the one. Wait, it's not like one where you like gotta like you ride a train and it stops at that station
Yeah.
and you're basically dead.
What, you die?
Yeah, like you, I think
You
yeah,
ride a
it's
train
like
and it stops there and then
it's
you
like an
die.
afterlife station, I think.
Thank you, Gabriella. I've never heard that one. Where is it? Where is Kisaragi?
It's that or like it's like a Oni live there, like a bunch of Oni.
Oh.
Yeah, one of the two I don't remember, but yeah, it's somewhere. I don't know where it is. Rainstorm Travel, thank you for the stream. Happy Halloween, y'all.
Thank you, Rainstorm. I can't find your email, Jade. It's not coming up. Oh, is this it? Jade Eyes from chat. Found it.
Yes.
Found it. All right, here we go. I have several stories, but a couple of them still stand out in my mind. From Arkansas. Arkansas. I was home alone watching my fiance's son. He was about 6 at the time. I had put him to bed around 7 or 8 p.m. that night. I was down the hall watching TV. Our dog had been sitting at the hall nearest to me, staring down towards his room at the opposite end. She kept growling and would occasionally bark. I kept telling her to hush. She also refused to move from that spot. I heard a door open and shut, and then another door do the same. It was almost 11 p.m. by now. I assumed it was my son getting up to go to the bathroom. A few minutes later, I heard the same door open, but not shut. I got up thinking my son was awake and wandering around looking for me or his dad. I went to his room to see that he was deep asleep. I shrugged it off and went down the hall into the kitchen to get something to snack on. I turned around, and standing in the doorway of the kitchen in the hall was a little boy. He looked to be 4 or 5 years old, wearing cut-off blue jeans, a blue and white striped shirt. He also had bright blonde hair cut in a bowl cut. It took a second to register, but he also was barefoot and his feet were muddy. It was in the middle of December, but I could also see the bookshelf he was in front of through his body. I stood there in shock, then looked away and back, and he was gone. I felt nothing for several moments, then just began to cry uncontrollably. Well, yeah, as you would do. That's so creepy. Thank you, Leah. What the heck? Yeah, that's terrifying. You sure have like a very vivid memory of what he was wearing and what he looked like. That's really cool.
I think someone mentioned in the chat like a while back, like being able to smell like family members.
Like their perfume or something.
Yeah, that's actually a fairly common kind of, what do you call it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you're out of the middle of nowhere and just like you smell like someone's perfume. Pretty creepy, but yeah, like it's not something that's like uncommon, I think.
This is from Kyle, who used to live in Japan, apparently. When I was younger, I had to live with my grandparents for a while. One night I was trying to sleep and I saw this old man looking into the bedroom. He just stared at me for a few minutes, then walked away. I told my grandmother about this, and she told me the previous owner of the home had died in the home due to a gas leak. He was very protective of the property still, but did not mind us living there as long as we took care of the property, and he would check in on us every so often. Christ, you don't seem that scared. It's very creepy.
Sebastian, thank you. Just sent a story, forgot to put an object.
Oh, like a subject, you mean? Let me see if I can find it. Me. Oh, here it is. Okay. This is from Sebastian. Many years ago, I had a dream about the place where my dad was working. He was making wooden furnitures and decorative wells and baskets in a barn. In the dream, I was seeing the barn from across the street, and the saw was on, and I was hearing it. Suddenly, I heard my dad screaming. A few days after the dream, I came back from the post office and I saw the car in the driveway with lots of blood on the driver's seat. I went up to the apartment to see my dad at the kitchen sink, his hand in a kitchen towel, with my mom beside him. She told me my dad had cut his right thumb nearly off with the circular saw. What? And you had a dream about it?
Wow.
Holy crap. Wait, he was a few days after, so it was a few days later. I used to have dreams like that too. I would like dream about my family members getting hurt or like being in an accident, and then it would happen.
Yeah.
So like every time I had a bad dream, I'd be like, ah, shit.
When I started my BMW, I had a dream. I was driving from Aichi to Iwate at the time, and I spent the night at Tokyo, and I had a dream that night that I got into a car accident.
Oh no.
Next day, I got into a car accident.
No. What? Was it similar to the one in the
dream?
dream?
It was like on the right side of my car, like got like
what?
Yeah, got hit.
That's so weird. So it was the same as the dream.
Yeah, it was pretty accurate. Not the happiest dream I've ever
done. That's super creepy.
Jada, I sent you a second story from my childhood. It's the one that scares me even to this day.
1 second. I'm still trying to find that closet one. So weird. I'll find it one day. One day after we're done the stream.
Yeah, you'll probably find it immediately after. Oh,
that one's really long. Oh god, somebody attached a picture of a drawing.
Oh god.
That's creepy. Okay, let's read this one out. I haven't read this one yet, but this is from Victoria. Thank you, Victoria. I'm assuming you're watching now because you just sent this in. The house I grew up in until I was 9 had some weird incidents. The house was out in the middle of nowhere in West Texas, and to this day, my family wonders about what went on with the property before we got it. And my mom swears that the previous owner was a witch. My older brother, when he was little, saw what he calls shadows all around the house, but mostly in the hallways his and my sister's bedrooms were in. He even drew scenes with the shadows he encountered when he was 4. Even I had a moment before we moved where I woke up to see a shadow coming towards me until I screamed and it disappeared. But what really did it was the lady in high heels. My parents' room was across the room from my siblings. This was before I was born. And my brother told her a couple times that he heard a lady in high heels walking around at night in the hallway outside my parents' room, which shocked my mom because she doesn't wear or own high heels. She told him not to worry about it until my dad said, I heard someone in high heels walking in the hallway last night. When my mom asked where, he said out in the hallway outside our room by the laundry machine. Needless to say, they went and got the house blessed ASAP, but still had weird little things happen ever since. And even after moving, there's one picture my mom brought that I can't sleep in the same room as because it makes me feel so nervous. Here's one of the scenes my brother drew of the shadows. That'd be so creepy if like a young child drew this picture. What does it say? Like, Jesus is with me always, and then there's some creepy shadow pictures. Can you guys see it? I can't read the bottom part. I'm not sure what that says, but those are the creepy shadow men. The high heels story is really creepy.
Yeah.
The dad heard it as well. And what else would make like a high heels noise? walking in the hallway.
I just wait to that.
That's
too.
not a common
Yeah,
noise. Yeah.
Stephen Evans, thank you for sharing some of our stories. It's very exciting. I'll send a couple more Ouija stories at the email. Stay safe from spooky North Carolina.
Ooh, Ouija stories. I would love to hear them. Thank you, Steven. The Ouija stories are really creepy. It's making me feel lucky that I didn't have any problems. I played Ouija like all the time. That's all I did. Okay, this is from Kaylee. I haven't read this one yet, so this will be the first time I'm reading it, but it's relatively short, so I think it might be a good one. She says, I've always had an extreme fear of the dark, so that may excuse my experience, and this may be taken as sort of funny. However, one night, me and my boyfriend stayed up super late, and he's a pretty deep sleeper, but has never once not woken up when I needed him. I suddenly woke up and really, really needed to use the washroom. Keep in mind, I'd only been sleeping maybe an hour, so this is a bit unusual. Weirdly, all of the lights in our house were out, but our door is closed as usual. But the lights would never be out. We definitely did not turn them off ourselves. I start trying to wake him up to maybe help me with the lights, but he's not budging. He didn't even begin to respond. I decided to ignore the issue and attempt to fall back asleep. I did manage to for a short time, maybe 15 minutes. Next thing I know, I'm sitting straight up staring at our bedroom door, which is now wide open. There's someone standing there in the doorway asking me if I needed their help and that they could take me to the restroom. That if I come with them, I'd have nothing to fear. They had no features other than a grim smile. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, I couldn't do anything. Eventually, they gave up on tempting me, turning around and walking away into the restroom. That sounds like sleep paralysis. When you can't like move or reply or anything, and usually you imagine a dark figure. That seems to be quite common. So yeah, that could be an explanation for what happened to you. It might not be a scary spirit haunting your house. Can't explain all the lights turning themselves off though, so don't know about that part. Happy Halloween, Mason. I'm glad you're enjoying the stories. Hannah, just remembered I wanted to let you know that I sent you some pictures on Instagram. Oh, thank you. I would love to see them. What's your Instagram ID? I normally don't check my Instagram DMs because there's lots of sketchy stuff in there. If you tell me your ID, I can open up your messages directly and check them. So thank you. I know you're doing true stories, but please look up the Fresno Nightwalkers. They be ghost pants. Am I reading that wrong? I will look that up later. Dynamic Duo says, I had a similar dream about my uncle and then something bad happened. I sent an email with dream in the title. It's from an email starting with RCR2279. Let me check it out. Dream in the title. Robin, is that you? Maybe it's this one. Possibly.
Yeah, that's this one.
Oh, thank you, Hannah. I will look up your messages afterwards. Remember that ID for me. Because I'm definitely going to forget.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll remember for you.
Robin says, I believe there is something out there because of a dream I had of my uncle. In my dream, I was at work, and then my uncle walked through the front door. I looked up in surprise because he lived 3.5 hours away, and I couldn't think of a reason he would be there. He stated he came to let me know he loved me, and I told him I loved him back. A few days later, I came home, and my mom told me my uncle had passed away. To this day, I've never taken my dreams for granted. Wow.
Yeah,
so
I've heard
a dream about her uncle coming to say he loved her. I told him I loved him. Wow.
I've heard
really
a couple
creepy.
of those, like where they would come like before they passed.
Yeah, and like say bye.
Yeah, say goodbye.
This is another one about a dream. Okay, this is from Melissa. My family had always believed in the paranormal, and my father and I have had a lot of positive and negative experiences. When I was little, my family and I moved into a really old house when I was in elementary school. After a month or two of living there, I started seeing a young girl, about 7 or 8 years old, standing in the corner of one of the bedrooms, looking out towards the hallway. She was in a white tea-length dress with a blue sash. She never gave me a bad vibe or anything. I continued seeing her every day for years, never telling anyone about it. Why wouldn't you tell someone? One day, my dad and I were cooking breakfast, and he asked me if I was watching videos or talking to a friend last night. I had heard a young girl laughing. Oh, he had heard a young girl laughing during the night. I told him I wasn't. I went on to say that right before he had woke up hearing the girl's laughter, he went on to say that right before he had woke up hearing the girl's laughter, he had a dream of a young girl playing in her room with dolls, and she was wearing the exact same dress that I had seen the girl wearing. We looked up the history of our house, and a girl had died in the 40s, suddenly after an illness. I continued to see her every day. I would wave and say hello. She never moved from her corner in the bedroom until the day I moved out of my parents' house. I was taking my last box to the moving van. When I was taking it out, she was in the hallway. She smiled and then walked back into the bedroom. I took that as her way of saying goodbye. Oh my god.
Nope.
The fuck?
Nope.
She's just standing in the corner of the bedroom for years, and you just deal with that? Why are you guys so brave? Oh shit. That just sounds terrifying. That's really cool that your dad had the same experience.
Yeah. That's creepy shit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a long one. Your cat stories. Okay, I haven't read this one yet. We'll read it together. Oh, she's in the stream right now. Awesome. Or he, not sure. There's no name here. Back when I was a teenager, my parents bought their first house. It was an old, tiny 1920 styles home with 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, very small. My parents and I flipped it and sold it 4 years later. We had to take the floor off, and on the base wood floor, since most houses have 2 wood layers, there was a large spot of wood damage on the base wood in the living room. The house sat on a large slab of concrete, so that didn't make any sense if there was no water damage on the first layer. Taking away all the damaged wood under the house on the concrete slab was a hidden door. Opening it revealed a small room with another small door leading even further down. The parents shrugged it off and fixed the wood, closing the secret hatch forever. We never talked about it since. The next year, my mom got pregnant with my sister, only child until then, and life was normal until she could start walking and talking. Oh no. My sister, who would babble and say some very small words like mama, dada, would sit in her crib and talk to the wall, even in her sleep. Weird, but whatever. Until one time when my dad wasn't home, she in the living room with my mom and I in the kitchen, one large space with no door, looked up at the corner of the front room near the front door, but not exactly, and said, Dada, before sounding disturbed and saying, no, Dada, and proceeded to scream hysteria. She ran to us traumatized and continued to scream if she was in the living room, and we weren't right next to her. Once we moved, she never had any issues being in a room alone and never had any issues in any other part of the house. Something terrified her, and it was in that same part of the house that had the secret underground room that we never investigated. That's creepy. I would definitely look into it. Maybe there's something like buried down there.
Exactly, yeah.
Yikes. Ooh, a Ouija story from Taylor. Mark's story reminded me of this. One of the friends I was with was also there at the Ouija board experience. This is a continuation from the car that had the Ouija board in the back. And the cops threw it away. Okay. Our college is in Milledgeville, Georgia. And Milledgeville. Can't read it.
Where?
Anyways, our college is in Georgia. And we had traveled around an hour to Macon to go ice skating and see a movie that night. The road between these two cities is almost completely unlit and is surrounded by trees. It was in the middle of the night around 2 a.m. on the drive back when we took a wrong turn. We ended up driving to the end of this pitch black road till we reached an old rusting gate. So we were like, we're lost, and we're on our phones trying to figure out where we were. But as we were doing so, we heard an abrupt clang like something hitting the car, and the headlights started flickering. We looked up and saw a figure on the other side of the gate staring at us, looked at each other, and began to freak out. She threw the car around and started to drive back down the road. The car did not want to move, almost like something was holding it back. After finally getting back on the right road, the car finally started to pick up speed. We got back to our house and about broke down from fear. All we could think about was the Ouija board from a year before. So that was someone else that was there for the Ouija board experience. Oh, Zoe, that was yours? Which one was yours, Zoe? The one that I just read beforehand? The house one?
And Danica.
Danica, hey! Aw, I'm glad you're here for the stream. Nice to see you.
There was I had one story that is in the tip of my tongue. Oh, right. So, like, do you ever have an instance where, like, GPS is trying to kill you?
GPS? Yeah. Oh, like sending you down,
Maps.
Like, oh, yeah, like ridiculous roads?
Yeah. So, like, one time I was driving home I was living in Aichi, and, like, I was driving home, and it was dark, so, like, I couldn't really know the road very well. So, like, I used Google Maps, and it was like, hey, go straight. And I'm like, this isn't a road I normally take, but hey, I'll believe you. You're Google Maps.
Oh, God.
So, like, I'm, like, just, like, going down this road, and, like, the concrete starts to disappear, and it turns to, like, dirt road.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see, like, deer and shit.
It's so common, especially in Japan.
And, like, mountains. I'm like, wait, I don't think I can go any further. Like, fucking Google's trying to kill me.
Why does it do that? It's so strange. There's, like, main roads, but it takes you down, like, the really creepy ones, and they're always, like, dead ends.
Jade Eyes, did you get my second story?
Let me see if I can find it. Okay, found it. I have another story that happened when I was a kid. This one's scarier than the first one. I was probably 10 or 11, and I have two sisters. One is a year older than me, and the other is a year younger than me. We all shared a room at one end of the main hallway. My parents' room were in the middle of the hall, opposite side of the bathroom in the same hall. I'm trying to picture this on my head. My sisters and I were woken up in the middle of the night. My younger sister said the shadow man was bothering her. We all used to talk to him, but her the most. What the fuck? We then heard what sounded like clapping coming from the hallway. We all got up and went towards the end of the hallway. My parents slept with their TV on usually, so we thought it was something on the TV. I said to stop being scared, so they said to go and see if it was the TV. I started down the hall, but the further I got down the hall, the louder and faster the clapping got. Just as I got outside of my parents' room, it sounded like someone had a metal baseball bat and was breaking everything apart inside the bathroom across the hall from my parents' room. The second I stepped into their room, everything went silent. I ran back down the hall to my sisters. What the heck? We never told our parents until a week later. When I turned 22, I was talking to my parents about it again, and my mom told me a story from the same night. She said my dad woke up saying that he heard clapping and he thought we were playing. He walked down the hall to tell us to go to bed, but came back and told my mom he couldn't. She asked him why, and he said it was because our grandmother was standing in the doorway of our room like she was guarding it. My dad does not believe in spirits. My mother does, as she is half Cherokee Indian. Her mother was full-blooded Cherokee, and my mom always told us to call Grandma's maiden name when we were scared. We all said it repeatedly that night when we heard the clapping and banging. Whoa, so they like called the grandma to come guard them. Cool. And the dad saw her. That's a really cool story. Dolores, I'd like to read my story about Mexico and have 2 photos. Dolores, did you send it? Let me see if I can find your email. Dolores. Yes. I think this is it. Okay. Dolores, I found your story. A few months ago, my dad and I went to a museum called Museo del Caracol coal. And it's on, you guys are really testing me. And it's on the way to the Chapultepec Castle in Mexico City, Mexico. The museum is about the Mexican Revolution and Constitution of Mexico. It was about 4 p.m. We were looking at displays and taking pictures. At one of the displays, things got weird. I was looking at the display of a soldier riding on horseback into a crowd of people in happiness, as if he was invited in by the crowd. My dad was taking photos of the displays with his phone. Took the first picture of the display, and it also had my reflection in it, but much later noticed a man in old-fashioned clothing behind me in the background. Then my dad ordered me in Spanish, "Get behind me, because you're making a glare." Did as I was told. My dad took the second picture. This time, the same man in old-fashioned clothing was in the picture, but more predominant and with a lady in old-fashioned clothing. At first, my dad accused me of disobeying him, but argued back, "I was behind you, I swear. In this picture, it can't be me because you don't see the frame of my glasses or my dark blue San Francisco sweater, like in the first picture." We were both shocked that we took a picture of the ghosts. Looked like they were laughing at us, saying, "You are not alone." As I mentioned earlier, I have photos which I will attach. I put these photos on Instagram with no luck. Let me see if I can find the photos. They're not showing up as attachments for some reason. Let me see if he sent another email. That's creepy.
I want to see the photos.
I know. Where are they? Yeah, don't send me messages on Instagram, guys. I honestly very rarely read them. There's lots of weird shit on there, and I don't like opening them. So don't be disappointed if you don't get a reply from me. Oh, maybe try sending the photos again. For some reason, it didn't attach them to the email. You shouldn't have any issue sending them. Looks like she tried so many times. There they are. There. Yeah. Found the photos. Just examining the photos now. So that must be
the dad. It's them. Let's them together.
Yeah. Do you see anything in the background? That's them together. But aren't those just people in the background, though?
Go back.
Am I missing something?
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the person writing the email.
Mm.
And then that's the dad, and then he tells him to get out of the picture, and then he's gone. I wish you were here to point it out to us, because there's lots going on in the photo, so it's hard to tell what you're talking about. It looks like there's other people reflected here, so I can't really see. Maybe if you could draw on it in paint or something, yeah. And tell us what you're referring to. But yeah, creepy story. All right, guys, I think we're gonna have to wrap up soon because it's 2:00 and I'm actually headed to my favorite onsen today in Akita. Currently creeped out. All my windows are open. It's super windy here in Arizona. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the stories. Hannah, thank you. Oh, did you just join? I'm sorry, we're leaving soon.
We're about to go.
We weren't able to read all the stories. I don't know if I got to yours this time. I do have quite a few left, and there was certainly a really good closet story in there that I wanted to read to you guys, and I could not find it. So if you did enjoy it, maybe we can do another one of these. It won't be Halloween, but we can have another creepy stream for no reason if you want. So if you liked it, let me know. And yeah, feel free to send some more stories into me, sharlaspookystories@gmail.com. I would love to hear them. And yeah, I'll see you guys again very soon. Have a very happy Halloween. Stay safe. Don't go to any parties or anything. Stay home and read some ghost stories. Do something fun at home. Oh, Amanda, thank you. I will read your story and include it in the next one. Thank you, Amanda. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Have a great day. Thank you so much to all my mods for helping out in the chat. You guys are amazing. Kiki. Oh, Idaho. Oh, I love Idaho. Thank you so much for watching.
I love your potatoes.
They are good. Bye, guys. Happy Halloween.